Please like this video. It will really help this story reach as many people as possible. Thank you so much for your support. She didn't look up when I came home. Laura was on the couch, feet under a blanket, phone lit in her hand like it was the only living thing in the room. Let's grab dinner at Stanley's, I offered, dropping my keys in the ceramic bowl. Wings, that salad you like, maybe a game on. Not tonight, she answered without lifting her head. It's Friday. Busy. She swiped her screen. Go without me. I leaned against the doorway. We lived together, remember? Mike, I'm tired. I had a long day. Don't start. If I'd known where it was headed, I would have saved myself a dozen small speeches and moved straight to the new rules. I didn't push. That night, I scrambled eggs for two and ate alone at the island while she scrolled, laughed at something only her phone knew, and disappeared to take a bath. The bath lasted an hour. The silence lasted longer. The next morning, I brought her coffee, the good beans I grind on weekends. She didn't touch it, said it was too strong. That became our chorus. 2 days later, I tried. We haven't gone out in a while. There's a new place over on Broad. I've got a lot this week, she replied, thumbs moving. Work's a mess. Then Saturday. She tucked hair behind her ear. I'll be with Jenna. We need a sister day. I could have argued, could have asked what exactly a sister day had to do with the last 6 weekends, but I played it straight. Okay. Rain check. Sure. No smile. Back to the screen. I kept the small courtesies. Breakfasts. A note on the counter. I booked a movie one night. She texted from the driveway, running late. Don't wait up. The ticket went to waste, and I ate the popcorn alone in the car like a teenager after a bad date. At first, I told myself it was a rough patch. She'd had rough patches before, but those came with explanations and eye contact. This came with secrecy and a firewall made of glass. When she talked, it was about chaos at the office. Everyone's dropping balls. I'm fixing it. I asked for specifics, offered to help with her resume if she wanted to look elsewhere. That triggered a stiff little laugh. You don't understand my field, she said, closing the door to the office like I was noise from the street. I let it go. For a week. Then I set an early line in the sand. I moved my gym bag out of our closet, stopped coordinating dinners I cooked with her late arrivals, and put a corkboard calendar in the kitchen. I wrote my schedule big and clear. Job sites, meetings, one card game with Nate. One Saturday, I'd spend at the garage with Dan. No discussion, just new facts. If Laura wanted me around, she could say the word and I'd make room. If she wanted me as a standby unit, I wasn't playing. That night, she glanced at the board. What's that? My calendar. That way I don't cancel plans for ones that don't happen. Mike, that's dramatic. No, that's boundaries. Soft ones. She studied me like I'd started speaking a foreign language. Do what you want. I will. She kept drifting. I kept my tone even and my eyes open. 2 weeks later, she came home just before sunrise. I was at the kitchen counter, laptop open. The door clicked, and the air changed. There was a smell on her cardigan that didn't live in our house. Long night, I said, closing the laptop. Emergency at work. She hung the cardigan, wouldn't meet my eyes. Smells like a different emergency. Mike. Who dropped you off? A colleague. Name. She walked past me. I'm taking a shower. I let the water run and the answer soak in. There was a time when I'd have pressed. I'd have asked and asked again and maybe raised my voice. I'm not that version anymore. Pressure makes some people honest. Pressure makes others creative. I didn't need creativity. I needed proof. On Tuesday, she dressed like she was going to an awards dinner. Makeup, heels, a blouse I'd only seen on holidays. She called it a late meeting, nightmare client. I nodded, got in my truck, and let 2 cars form a buffer between us. She didn't go to her office. She went to a residential street across town. She parked under a maple tree. I eased half a block back and killed the lights. A man stepped out from the shadow of a pickup. He kept his baseball cap low, turned away from the streetlight. Laura crossed to him with that quick, nervous smile I hadn't seen directed at me in months. When he lifted his head, my stomach dropped. Brad, Jenna's husband. Family dinners, backyard barbecues. The guy who complained about traffic like it was a personal enemy. That Brad. I didn't make a scene. I recorded a date and time. The next night, I stayed put. The night after that, I followed again. Park. Then a different neighborhood. Then the motel off the highway with the flickering sign I used to joke about when we drove past it. My jokes didn't land in that parking lot. I shot one short clip that showed faces, hands, nothing anyone would misinterpret. Back home, Laura told me a story about a software rollout. I nodded and cut a lime. The kind of domestic choreography that hides 1,000 fractures. I didn't mention Brad. I wasn't looking for tears or apologies. I was measuring the structure to decide where to cut. I tightened the screws at home, not with shouting, but with process. I moved half our joint savings into a separate account in my name and printed the ledger. I put a lock on my office door. I took back the garage door opener I'd given Brad months ago for projects. I asked Jenna how she was doing, just to hear her voice. She sounded fine. That told me she knew nothing. For now. The next week, Laura softened. Illusion 1. She brought me breakfast in bed on a Sunday. Pancakes, berries, the whole thing. Laura hadn't cooked pancakes since we bought the house. This is out of character, I said, folding the napkin. I've been distant, she replied, sitting at the edge of the mattress, not quite facing me. Work has been ugly. You didn't deserve to carry that. I appreciate the breakfast. We should do something this week, she added. Just us. You pick the night. She picked Wednesday, then canceled Tuesday night to free up space, and Thursday morning via text because the client moved things. Wednesday came and went like most Wednesdays. She got home late, showered, and curled up with her laptop. When I didn't bring it up, she looked confused. I poured myself a coffee and wrote an email to a vendor. My new policy, no reminders to an adult. Things escalated at social speed. Friday, she invited Jenna over. That wasn't unusual. What hit different was the way they used our kitchen like I was extra furniture. They chopped tomatoes, giggled like middle schoolers, traded looks over my head. Every time I stepped in, their voices dipped. You too good? I asked, rinsing a cutting board. Great, Jenna chirped. Laura smirked. We're fine. Good, I said, drying the board. I'm heading to Dan's. He needs a hand with a timing belt. Tonight, Jenna asked, like I'd missed my cue to ask permission. Yeah, it's on my board. Since when do you need a board to go to a friend? Laura tossed a slice of tomato into her mouth. Since I stopped waiting around. Jenna rolled her eyes. Wow, someone's on a schedule. I didn't bite. I went to the garage, grabbed my bag, and left. In Dan's shop, a long, noisy place that smells like rubber and old stories, I worked quiet and steady. Dan looked up once and said, rough week? Getting clarity, I answered. Clarity hurts. Not this kind, I told him, and meant it. Monday gave me the kill turn. Laura said there was a late fire drill. I let her leave first, then followed. Same dance, new lot. Motel again. Brad again. The clip on my phone got sharper. I didn't confront her that night. I slept in the guest room, not as punishment, not as theater, but because I didn't want lies in my bed. I put a folded sheet of paper on her nightstand. We need to talk Wednesday, 7 p.m. kitchen. No phones. She ignored the note Tuesday like it had evaporated in air. Wednesday at 7 she took a call in the backyard. I stood by the sink until she stepped in. We're talking now, she asked, bobbing her head toward the back door. Yup. I tapped the counter where I'd set 2 glasses of water. No phones. I'm busy. So am I. She put the phone face down, screen still glowing. Small rebellion. Big tell. I kept my voice flat. I'm not discussing your schedule. I'm discussing mine. I'm done covering for your late nights. I'm done waiting up. I'm done canceling plans. From tonight on, I won't be free on demand. If you're here, you're here. If you're not, you're not. I'll be civil. I won't be available. That's ridiculous. It's adult. You're punishing me for working. I'm choosing where to put my energy. I can't believe you're doing this. You'll adjust. She stared at me like I'd shut off the heat in January. Is this about intimacy? This is about respect. So now you're hurt. No, I'm awake. She tried to smile it off. You're being dramatic, Mike. Probably. I picked up the glasses, took mine with me, and committed to the guest room as a long-term arrangement. That night, she appeared in the doorway with a blanket. Do you want this? She asked. Thanks. I don't like sleeping alone. Me either. Then why are you doing this? Because I like sleeping near the truth. That landed. She left the blanket and said nothing. That was the last quiet we had before everything burned. Work became my foreign territory initiative. I told Paul, my boss, that I was open to the big sites, those I used to avoid because home felt like a second job. He raised an eyebrow. You sure you want the hassle? He asked. I want the responsibility, I replied. You've been steady this year, Paul said, tapping a pen. I can put you on the Harborview contract. It's a beast. I'm your guy. He nodded slowly. You'll be in early and late some days. That won't be a problem. Nate, my site lead, cornered me by the forklift. Everything good at home? Getting better, I answered. You look different. I'm sleeping. That'll do it. While I started mapping Harbor View, Laura tried illusion too. She turned on warmth like a switch. Wednesday, she brought takeout from the diner and set the table. Thursday, she sent me a photo of tickets to a baseball game, my team. Surprise, she typed. Friday, she met me in the driveway like we were in high school. I got you something, she said, flapping the envelope. I see. We could go Saturday. Make a day of it. Grab hot dogs. Take pictures. Sounds nice. You're smiling? At the thought of hot dogs. You're impossible. What changed? I miss us, she said, pushing hair behind her ear. I hate that it's tense. Me too. So let's reset, she continued. Fresh start. Fresh starts come with honesty. She paused and glanced at the side yard, where our trash cans stand like quiet neighbors. I'm doing my best, Mike. I hear you. She pressed, so we'll go? Saturday? I can't. Why not? I'll be at Harbor View with Paul. You work on Saturdays now? When it matters. Her smile thinned. I'm trying here. I see that. You could try too. I am. I'm not shouting. That's not trying. Then define it for me. She lost patience. Forget it. I will. She carried the envelope back inside. Saturday morning, she left early in jeans and a windbreaker. The text came at noon. Going to Jenna's for a while. I sent a thumbs up and stayed with blueprints and honest people. 2 days before my birthday, she turned warm again. My mom called to ask if I wanted a party. I said we'd keep it small, friends, a couple coworkers, neighbors, cake. Laura jumped on the plan like it was a lifeboat. Let me pause the story for just a second. If you're still listening, please hit the like button on this video. It really helps YouTube show this story to more people. Thank you so much for the support. Now let's get back to the story. I'll handle everything, she said, pulling a legal pad from the drawer. Menu decorations. Don't worry. Not my habit. Mike, I'm serious. Do your thing. She put on music, hummed around the kitchen, and for a second I felt an echo of the house we'd both promised. It almost worked. Almost. Then my phone buzzed with a motion alert from the camera we keep over the driveway. It showed Laura loading a stack of boxes into her trunk on Tuesday at noon. Not party supplies, coats. A suitcase. My old toolbox on top, the one she had no reason to touch. I didn't say a word. I just took the small external hard drive from my office safe and dropped the clips and photos into a clean folder. I put a copy on a second drive and placed that one in the glove box of my truck. Experience told me, when you set a boundary, people get inventive. The day of the party, I came home to a festive spread. Friends from the job, Nate and Sarah, stood by the grill with Dan from the garage. Our neighbor Mrs. Carter brought her legendary potato salad, told me I looked thinner through the eyes, which I think is her way of saying I finally slept. Paul came early with his wife, shook my hand, told me I was ready for Harbor View and whatever's after. Jenna showed at the last second, breathless, alone. No Brad. She joked that he was on a long errand, then tried to laugh. Laura hovered near her, smiling a little too hard. In the entryway sat a gift with a white ribbon, front and center like it needed a spotlight. We ate on the deck. Laura was attentive, refilling drinks, standing too close, performing the picture. When people asked us how we were, she answered for both. We're good. Busy. You know how it is. I nodded like a polite stranger. Dan clinked a glass. Speech from the man of the hour. I raised my bottle. Thanks for coming. I'm not long on speeches. I appreciate the people who show up when it counts. Eat more. Laughs around the table. Laura squeezed my shoulder. Gifts now, she suggested, too bright. Sure, I said. People handed over small, honest things, a set of grill tools, a book I'd mentioned, a gift card. Then Laura lifted the white ribbon box. From me, she said, pressing it into my hands. Jenna crossed her arms, leaning forward like the referee at a sparring match. I peeled the paper. I opened the lid. Inside lay a manila folder and 2 pens. The first page was a petition. No note. No explanation. Just paperwork. The deck went very quiet. Jenna snorted a laugh before she could stop it. Now that's a present. Jenna, Laura warned. No, this is gold. Jenna went on, half amused, half mean. Happy birthday, here's a parting gift. Laura's jaw set. It's practical. I lifted the folder, held it in my hands like an object I'd never asked for and didn't fear. I looked at Laura's face. She tried for strong, landed on brittle. I'd seen that expression in my rearview mirror in motel parking lots. I smiled without humor. Practical is a word. She lifted her chin. It's for both of us. We're not working. Jenna chimed in again, the way people do when they think they own the stage. You really wrapped it, Laura? With a bow. Jenna, be quiet, Laura snapped. I let the silence last 2 beats. Then I turned to Jenna. Since we're opening gifts, I said, I've got one for you. Jenna smirked. What, a casserole dish? News. She rolled her eyes. Please. I set the folder on the table and raised my voice just enough to clear the deck. Your husband and my wife have been meeting after hours, I announced, steady as a foreman calling lunch. By meeting, I mean parking, walking, entering an hourly room off exit 17, and leaving 90 minutes later. If you need dates, I have them. The smirk fell off her face like a mask. What? Laura exploded, quick and loud. That's a lie. I put one finger on the manila folder. No, that's a file. Jenna stepped toward Laura, eyes wide. You and Brad. Laura shot back. Don't be ridiculous. Say it, Jenna demanded. Say it to my face. There is nothing to say, Laura answered, voice shaking now because the crowd had turned to listen, because lies like privacy and hate witnesses. Sarah, who is usually silent, whispered to Nate. Oh my God. Dan whistled air through his teeth. Mrs. Carter clutched her salad bowl like it could save her from witnessing. I slid my chair back and stood. Enough, I said, not loud, just final. Everyone, thank you for coming. Party's over. Nate cleared his throat. You sure, Mike? I'm sure. People froze. I pointed to the side yard. You can leave through the gate. Food's yours. Take what you want. Paul moved first. He always does. He shook my hand and said quietly, call me Monday. Count on it. Jenna stared at Laura like she'd never seen her before. You and Brad. She repeated, softer now, not a question anymore. You're both being dramatic, Laura insisted, but her voice cracked on the last word. I turned to Laura. You're leaving, I said. Where am I supposed to go? You planned this, I replied, tapping the folder. You'll figure it out. I'm not going anywhere. You are. You can't throw me out of my house. It's our house, I answered. And I won't live with this. What about the guests? They know. Mike, you're not thinking clearly. I've never been clearer. She tried a different angle. We should talk alone. We're done talking. Please, don't do this like. Like what? Honestly, directly? I learned from the best. Jenna found her voice again, sharp as a snapped twig. You were with Brad? She asked, one last shot at denial. Laura's hands were empty. I don't have to explain myself to you. That's an answer, Jenna breathed, then covered her mouth. She didn't look at me again. She walked out the gate like a person stepping off a stage into a different life. Our friends and neighbors moved in a slow, awkward line. Sarah hugged me, quick and fierce. You're solid, she said. Dan patted my shoulder like a teammate. Mrs. Carter put her salad bowl down and squeezed my elbow. Call if you need anything, she whispered, eyes wet. When the yard emptied, I faced Laura. She looked smaller in a way I won't describe, because I promised myself I wouldn't romanticize any of this. Go pack, I told her. Take tonight. I'll be at a hotel. Be gone in the morning. You're serious? Yes. You'll regret this. No. She tried one more maneuver. You don't even know the whole story. I know enough. I could explain. You had months. Mike, I held up a hand. No. She stood there, starting sentences that had no ends. Then she grabbed the white ribbon box like it could give her protection and went upstairs. I took my overnight bag from the guest room, my file, and my truck keys. I paused at the door, looked back at the house we'd made, and said to the empty kitchen, take care of yourself. Then I left. At the hotel, I slept like a man whose conscience is clean. In the morning I checked my phone. 3 texts from Laura, a handful of half-formed apologies that looked like they were written to hold me in place, not to tell the truth. I didn't answer. I gave her until noon, then drove home. The house was quiet. Her closet was mostly empty. The bathroom cabinet looked like a mouth with teeth missing. On the island lay my copy of the petition and a note. I'll sign if you do. I put my initials in the corner of the note and wrote one word. Okay. I called a friend who knew a mediator. We set an appointment for Friday. I didn't ask for drama. I asked for an efficient line from A to B. When she wrote to say she was staying with a friend for a few days, I responded. I'll have the papers ready. In the days after, the social consequences arrived with the mail. Jenna cut her off first and hardest. I didn't see the fallout, but I heard it in the silence. Laura stopped posting photos with her sister. Family group chats went quiet on her end. Our mutual friends picked lanes without speeches. People who loved us both still waved at me at the hardware store. People who loved drama kept their distance because I denied them new chapters. Laura tried one last swing at control. She came by on a Thursday to talk in person. I met her on the porch and kept the door behind me. I don't want to fight, she said. I won't, I replied. I made mistakes. I know. I panicked, she added. I wanted out. I didn't know how to say it. You could have said it. I thought if I pushed you, you'd be the one to leave. I figured. I can fix this. You can't. I can try. You already did, I said, tilting my head toward the street. We're past try. You're cruel, she said, like it might flip the board. No, I'm consistent. She stared at me for a very long time, waiting for a crack that wasn't there. Then she nodded once, like someone accepting a job they didn't want, and left. We signed on Friday with a notary. There were no speeches. There was a column for assets and a column for debts. I kept the house. She took the small car and what she'd already carried out in boxes. She wanted an apology at the end, something to soften the edges. I gave her a sentence that was true. I don't hate you, I said, but I won't stay. She blinked, like she'd expected either fire or ash, and got water instead. Goodbye, Mike. Goodbye, Laura. She moved out of town within a week. The last I heard, she was on a couch in a friend's rental, looking at jobs 3 states away. Jenna shut her door and kept it shut. Brad vanished from the family tree with the efficiency of a hand hitting backspace. Me? I went to work. Harborview came alive. I showed up early, met subs on site, closed out problems without theater. Paul started looping me into senior meetings. In one of them, he said, we're expanding next quarter. I want you running the Westline bid. Give me the drawings, I answered. I'm serious, he said. Title bump, comp bump. You've earned it. Good, I replied. Let's keep going. I started sleeping in the master again. It felt like a room reclaimed. I painted the office to erase old shadows. I changed the landscaping in the front yard and fixed the porch light that had been half dead for months. Nate and I went fishing once, just to sit still and not talk. Dan and I rebuilt a carburetor on a Saturday and then grilled without anyone checking a clock. One evening, I stopped by the old neighborhood bar. Not for sadness, for ribs and a quiet game on the TV. A woman 2 seats down asked if the stool next to me was free. I nodded. She was direct, a little older than me, with the kind of calm you can't fake. Aaron, she said, holding out a hand. I do design for a living. I'm allergic to drama. Mike, I answered. Construction. I was overexposed to drama, so I'm building immunity. She laughed, clean, short, not performative. We talked about city permits and good coffee. When she asked what I did for fun, I told her about tinkering with engines. She said, good. I like machines more than speeches. We didn't exchange numbers. We ran into each other a week later at the hardware store. Sometimes life doesn't need a script. It just needs room. A month after the party, Paul called me into his office. You free for a second? He asked. Always. He slid a folder across the desk. Westline's yours. Title, Project Manager. I turned the word over in my head like a coin. Thanks. You earned it, he said. You've been focused. I cut distractions, I replied. That'll do it. I bought a used truck that ran like a promise and paid cash. Not a toy, an upgrade that matched the work. I fixed the fence in the backyard and invited people over for steaks on a Saturday that had nothing to do with birthdays. When Nate raised a glass, he said, to showing up. Everyone clinked. We didn't talk about Laura. Not really. She was a past tense that didn't need conjugating. Every now and then, someone would mention seeing her name muted in a group chat or hearing a rumor about a new city. No one invited commentary. We'd all seen enough. The last act of that story played out without me. She called once from an unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. Her message said she was starting fresh out west, that she hoped I was well, that she wished it had ended differently. I deleted it after listening twice. Not out of anger, out of completion. Some nights, I sit on the porch with a beer and breathe like a man who knows what he stands on. The house is quiet in a good way. The calendar on the kitchen corkboard is full, but not frantic. Work, a weekend drive, dinner with friends, maybe coffee with Aaron if the timing stays kind. When I flip the porch light off, it goes dark in one clean click. That's how I like endings now. You want the line that put the nail in it. It came that night, right after the party detonated and the gate shut. I stepped inside, picked up an empty glass, and said to the room, just loud enough for the last lingering ears, if it's a choice between my peace and your chaos, I'll take the quiet every time. Then I raised the glass and added, happy birthday to me. People laughed, a short, grateful sound. It wasn't about her. Not anymore. It was about the moment the floor stopped tilting. Laura lost the comfort she'd been guarding. House, holidays, the stage of a shared life. She lost the status she'd curated, sister's approval, couple photos, those polite nods you get in familiar aisles of the grocery store. She traded it for motion and noise somewhere else. That was her decision. Mine was simpler. I didn't win by shouting. I won by walking. I didn't need to punish anyone. I needed to protect the ground I stand on. So I did. And I'm not sorry. After the divorce came through, Paul texted a thumbs up and a date for cigar night at his place. I don't smoke, but I showed up and talked shop. Nate told a story about a tool chest falling off a truck that somehow got funnier every time he told it. Dan promised to help me tune the new truck's idle. Aaron bumped into me again, this time at a coffee shop where the line was too long and the conversation was easy. Still allergic to drama? I asked. Severely, she said, but I carry an antidote. What's that? Boundaries. She smiled. And good coffee. Those I can respect. She handed me a slip of paper with her number. Call if you want to talk about engines or floor plans. Or silence. Silence I have covered. I told her. I didn't need the last word with Laura. I had the last action. The house is mine. The quiet is mine. The people who matter stayed. The people who ran their mouths went quiet when it counted. I'm not auditioning anymore. I'm not living in reaction. I've got my hands on the wheel and my eyes on the road. I used to think endings had to be loud to be real. Turns out, the real ones are clean. You set a rule. You follow it. You don't let anyone rewrite it for their convenience. And when someone hands you a box with a bow that's supposed to take your dignity with it, you open it, you read it, and you say, all right, let's do it right now. Then you do. The day the decree arrived, I didn't frame it or burn it or post it. I set it in the file cabinet between taxes and warranties, then drove to Harborview at dawn. The sun hit the steel in a way that made the whole site look honest. Nate handed me a coffee. Paul pointed at a problem and said, you and me. We handled it before lunch. That night, I grilled. The grill hissed like a good engine. Friends laughed. The porch light worked. The calendar had room for the things that matter. If there's a moral here, it's boring and strong. Respect yourself first. If someone makes that a puzzle every day, take away the puzzle. Put your energy where it pays you back. The inbox doesn't have her name anymore. The front closet has space. The guest room isn't a refuge now. It's a place for friends who had one too many and need a couch and a clean towel. The house feels like mine because I decided it would be. And if another birthday rolls around with people at my table and a cake on the counter, I know what I'll say when somebody taps a glass and asks for a speech. To calm decisions, I'll tell them, raising a fork. To clear rules. And to not letting anyone hand you a box with your name on it and a story you don't live in anymore. Then I'll cut the cake, pass plates around, and keep it simple. Our story has come to an end. If you've made it this far, how about subscribing to our channel? It helps us immensely. I've selected 2 other videos for you that I'm sure you'll enjoy. Feel free to click on them. I'll be waiting for you in the next story. See you soon.